Drizzt, and this is a deck that's in progress. I was making it because Drizzt's one of my favorite characters. Uh, I read a lot of the books when I was in high school, and I think a lot of people are making this deck completely wrong. If EDH Rec is anything to go by, they like put a bunch of big creatures in with 0 toughness, and then they die right away and make Drizzt really big, which is good, I guess, if you really wanted to be just a really big creature, but he's a lot more complex than that. And I think that I can showcase some of the strengths that he has outside of just making him really big. So I'm going to be doing that with this video. Fighting and Survival is the name of the deck that I've got here. If you have any suggestions, you can give me some suggestions in the comments for like making things more lore accurate or just a better combination of cards. I'm just going to go through some of the major ones, main points of the deck, and then you'll see what I'm talking about as we go on through the video here. Alright, so first off, Drizzt is a fighter. He's not... So we're going to have a lot of fighting cards, such as this Archdruid's Charm, which is Archdruid's Charm is a kind of a combination of different things. It has 3 options here. You can search your library for a creature or land card, reveal it, and put it on the battlefield tapped if it's a land card. Otherwise, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This is the main point right here, this middle one. This is what we're going to be going after. This entire deck's purpose here is you can put a counter, +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. And then there's also an option to exile target artifact or enchantment. This effect right here is super powerful with Drizzt. Here, I'll show you why. Let's go back. Okay, so Drizzt has double strike, and when he enters the battlefield, create Guinevere, a legendary 4/1 green cat creature token with trample. That's pretty good. And then whenever a creature dies, if it had power greater than Drizzt's power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on Drizzt equal to the difference. So here is the strategy. He has double strike, so he does first strike damage and regular damage. If you have cards like this one, where it says it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control, that means that he can do damage in combat, because this is an instant. He can, before damage is done, you can make him deal his 3 damage, his 3 power in damage to a creature you don't control, and then he can also do first strike damage. So that's like 6 damage before regular damage is even done. So he can do like 9 damage in a turn to a creature. But you don't want that last 3 going through, or else he might also die. So you just want those first 2. You can do 6 damage with him before regular combat damage even happens. So he can do damage to creatures that are far larger than himself, and that means that you get to eliminate a creature from your opponent's field, and also the benefit of his ability where he gets stronger by killing that creature. So yeah, that's the main strategy here, and I think it's far more powerful and underappreciated than the people that are making decks on EDH Rec would have you believe. We also have, let's see here, Bridgeworks Battle. This is target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and it fights one target creature you don't control. So this gives him +2/+2, and he'll fight a creature, but it's also a land, so you can just play it as a land. These ones aren't as powerful as the ones that say it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control, but these ones are still pretty good, especially if you've already got them bigger. So here's another fight one, and this is also Dramoka's command. This is you can prevent all damage from target instant or sorcery spell would deal this turn. Target player sacrifices an enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So that's another good one. It's not as good as the original like the Archdruid's Charm. Those effects are better, but this one's still pretty good for fighting. We got Golden Guardian here, so especially since your commander creates a 4/1 Guinevere, you can summon your commander. It creates that token Guinevere, the 4/1 Panther token, and then you can have Golden Guardian if it's out. You can have it fight, and then you get a land right away. That's pretty cool. Hunter's Mark is really good because this is Hunter's Mark. It costs 3 less if it targets a blue permanent you don't control. So if your opponent's playing blue, then you're even better off. But even with it just base, even if you have to pay the 4, it can't be countered. Target creature you control gets +1/+1, and until end of turn, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So it just lets Drizzt like punch above his weight class. He's a 3/3. You can make him a 4/4, and then you can do 4 damage with this card here, and then you can do 4 damage in first strike damage if you cast this during combat, because it is an instant. Then you can do this one, and it would do the 4 damage because it would be his power, and then the first strike damage. So that's 8 damage to a creature, and if it's like a 6/6 or an 8/8 or a 7/7 or something, then Drizzt will just get more counters, and then you can do and then you can fight bigger creatures. Like, this is all about being more proactive in just taking your opponent's creatures as a benefit rather than just a wall that you need to attack. You can have your opponent's strengths can become a target for this deck, which is really cool. This is Kalni Ambush. This is a double-faced card. It's also a land. This one is also a fight card. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So fighting is good. He has first strike, so take full advantage of his first strike damage. Because it's underappreciated and people just don't see that. And then there's Lothlorien Blade. Whenever equipped creature attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature defending player controls. And it has equip elf is 2, and Drizzt is an elf ranger. So it's this is a no-brainer. Just put it in there and it works. This one here is Outmuscle. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, then it fights target creature you control, then it fights target creature you don't control. If at least 3 green mana was spent to cast this spell, the creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. So this is really good because he gains indestructible, so you can get all 3. You can get the fight damage, or I guess it's only 2 because you get the first strike damage and the regular damage, but he's indestructible, so you don't have to worry about him getting destroyed or dying or anything. So it's pretty good. And then Signature Slam is even better because this one is great. You can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, then each modified creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So this can kill a very giant creature, especially if you have lots of creatures with +1/+1 counters or enchantments or equipment on them. Yeah, this is great. And then we have Undercity Upheaval. I thought this would be a good one just for lore reasons because he was from an Undercity. Which is just pretty good. And it also has distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard as you cast this spell. Creatures you control gain vigilance until end of turn. This is another great thing to have with Drizzt is vigilance, because then you can attack without tapping him. So I want to put more vigilance cards in here. I have a few in here that are pretty good, and I don't know. I'm not sure if I need more or not. I'll have to play test it eventually to figure that out. But I think it's in a really good spot to play test right now. This is Collective Resistance. This is the defending part. So this is destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or target creature gains hexproof and is destructible until end of turn. So this is an instant. So you can also give Drizzt hexproof and indestructible. This is just protection, or if you attack into big creatures, you can give them indestructible, and then you don't have to worry, before damage is dealt, and then you don't have to worry about him dying. And then we got Dawn Charm. This is great. This is just basically like a fog if you need it, or you can regenerate them. You can regenerate Drizzt in combat. That's another thing that would be good to put in here, just to protect him from, because he's going to be fighting a lot. So you want regenerate, indestructible, all those kinds of things. And you can also counter spells with this one, as long as it targets like the player, like me, the player, or you, the player. If you're playing this deck, it counters spells that target, so that's really good. It's pretty great. And then we got Flare Fortitude. This one's just, uh, until end of turn. This is just protection. Your life total can't change. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. This is an instant. You can also just sacrifice like another green creature. It has to be a non-white creature or non-token white creature. So yeah, just sacrifice another green creature if you have one, and then you can like cast it without spending any mana, and you can protect Drizzt even more. This one is also like protecting Drizzt. You can put +1/+1 counter on him, so it makes him bigger too. And you can give him reach, so he can attack, so he can block flying creatures, which is great, and trample, hexproof, and disrupt. This is just all around solid for Drizzt. And then we got Gift to the Viper. This is also like makes him bigger with a +1/+1 counter, gives him reach and a death touch. So this is like the first strike, because he has double strike, that he does first strike damage and regular damage. The first strike damage will trigger the death touch for whatever creature he's attacking. This is just awesome. Death touches would be another one to give him, like if there's more instants that give him death touch. This is Judgment of Alexander, sorry. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you by this turn by sources your opponents control. Whenever damage from a creature is prevented this way, each commander creature you control deals damage equal to its power to that creature. So this is great for combat because it prevents any damage that your opponents are doing, and you can also take advantage of Drizzt's, like, he's a warrior. Just get him out there fighting. You don't need him like you don't just get him really big and hammer into a wall. Like EDH Rec is great for like a great resource for finding cards, but it's completely wrong. Everyone's building Drizzt completely wrong. He is so underappreciated, and this strategy is far stronger in my opinion. Yeah, this is just, it's so much better. Okay, so then we got Kerbis, Harvest Celebrant. Enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. Remove a +1/+1 counter from Kerbis. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to this turn to another creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. So this is just damage prevention. It's pretty basic compared to some of the other cards in here, but it's really good to have, in my opinion, for that defense. And then we have Lapse of Certainty, of course. This is like a white counter spell. White and green don't really have a lot of counter spells, so I like to have some counter spells. You want some because, it's a part of Magic the Gathering, counter spells. You have to play around it in some way. I just try to use whatever counter spells I can in the colors that I have. Seed Time. This one is great for playing against blue players, mostly. There's plenty of blue. This could probably be replaced with something else, actually, but in my play group, this is a good card to have because there's lots of blue and there's lots of, blue player counterspell or shenanigans, so that's why that's in there. Sigarda, Host of Herons. This is good for shutting down your opponent's abilities to sacrifice and like your opponent's any spells that cause you to sacrifice permanents. This is quite heavy in my play group, so this is a good card to have. And then we got Swiftfoot Boots. This is just, giving them hexproof and haste, which is great for Drizzt. We got Veil of Summer. You can draw a card. If an opponent casts a blue or black spell this turn, spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. So this is just card draw, and you can also preemptively shut down any counter spells before you cast a spell. Not any, I guess, just blue or black counter spells, I guess. Yeah, as long as you preemptively cast this first and then cast whatever you want to next. Like your fight spells. Yasharn is also really good, shutting down your opponent's ability to pay life or sacrifice non-land permanents. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic forest card and a basic plains card. Reveal those cards and put them into your hand, then shuffle. So this is a good one to search for land. He's a 4/4. He's pretty good. It's a pretty good card, all things considered. All right, and then we're going to go on to the strategy here. We're going to get our creatures to get +1/+1 counters on them. This is going to be heavy into the +1/+1 counters, heavy into the fighting. So we want Abzan Battle Priest here. He has Outlast. And creatures you control, each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has lifelink. So this is just pretty solid to have with Drizzt. You can get some life, and yeah, he's just there to help buff your creatures. And then we also have Abzan Falconer. Has Outlast, same thing as the last one, pretty much, except for instead of lifelink, it is flying. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. This is just great for, yeah, just buffing your other creatures, giving everyone flying so you can block those flyers and fly over your opponent's creatures if they don't have flying or reach. We have Andariel, Narsil Reforged. This is Ascend, so if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. Whenever equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and if you have the City's Blessing, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control instead, and you can equip 3. So that one's really solid. And then we have Arcus Acolyte. This one is Reach and Lifelink with Outlast, and each creature you control without a +1/+1 counter on it also has Outlast. So this one can just, yeah. Sorcery speed, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature, like by paying a white or a green. So that's really solid for just, you know, giving each creature their own +1/+1 counter, which helps with like the modified and stuff. This one's really cool. Basking Broodscale. It has Adapt, so you can give him a +1/+1 counter. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on Basking Broodscale, you may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature. So this one's going to create some tokens. You get some little Eldrazi spawn creature tokens. You can use them as blockers, or you can use them as a mana source, whichever. This is just all around a pretty solid card to beat in here. Then we have Defiler of Vigor. This one's pretty solid because you can get some green when you cast green creature spells. Or permanent spells, rather, gets all of your creatures +1/+1 counters. So it has Trample. As an additional cost to cast green permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost 1 green less to cast if you paid life this way. This effect reduces only the amount of green mana you pay. So it reduces cost by paying life instead, and also it gives it, so whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So that's great. He's just all around awesome for putting in this deck. And then we got Forgotten Ancient. Whenever a player casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. That's whenever a player, so even your opponent, you're taking advantage of your opponents again, and you're just like turning their actions and their resources into your advantage, or an attack surface for you to propel yourself into victory, hopefully. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of +1/+1 counters from this creature onto other creatures. So this one is like a resource that you can use. You get +1/+1 counters put on them, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you can just move those +1/+1 creatures onto other creatures. This is just like solid. Good Fortune Unicorn. We have whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So that's just super cool. being able to spread out those +1/+1 counters across all of your creatures as you summon them, because yeah, that helps with that. That helps with like things like this, like Gyre Sage as evolve. So you can like put +1/+1 counters on other creatures like this one. You can add green for it has tap, add 1 green for each +1/+1 counter on Gyre Sage. So like more +1/+1 counters, the better. We have Incubation Druid. This one is add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. If Incubation Druid has a +1/+1 counter on it, add 3 mana of that type instead. Then we have Adapt 3, which is, you know, just putting 3 +1/+1 counters on it for the cost of like 5 mana. We have Lion Sash here. This is just for getting cards out of graveyards, basically. And then it puts +1/+1 counters on Lion Sash, which is a creature, but also you can equip it to other creatures to give them even more power. This is just perfect for a Drizzt deck. And then we've got Resourceful Defense. This is helping with moving counters, especially if you lose a creature with counters on it. It helps you like move them around more effectively. Then we got Song of Freyalise. This one also gives, okay, so it has the first 2 turns. This is a saga, so it has the first 2 turns that you have it out on play. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain tap to add 1 mana of any color. So this is just like mana ramp, but also the 3rd turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible until end of turn. So this is just, you know, it's all around pretty good. You get some mana ramp, and then you can also attack on that 3rd turn, because all of your creatures will have Vigilance, Trample, Vigilance, Indestructible, Trample. Just go wild with that. And then we got Sovereign Auchinech Ahua. It has Ward 2. Whenever Sovereign Auchinech Ahua attacks, for each creature you control with power greater than that creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. So, like, if Drizzt has +1/+1 counters on him, this is just going to make him even more powerful. Like, you're gonna blast off into the stratosphere with this card on the field, and Drizzt, like, it's crazy. And then we got Stonecoil Serpent. This creature enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, and X is just however much you pay for it. It has reach, trample, and protection from multicolor. This is just a solid card for dealing with most commander decks, because lots of people play multicolored decks, not mono. There are some that play mono, but this will protect from you know, some bigger multicolored cards. So that's something. We got Disruption. So we got Exorcise. This Exorcise. This is exile target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. So this is exile. Exile is good for when you have something, you're facing something that you can't really take out with just destroy triggers or damage. So we want exiled. Same with Farewell here. Farewell's a very good card. It's exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and graveyards. This is just a board wipe, basically. Or you can just choose certain things if your opponents are getting a little bit too wild out there with their cards. Force of Vigor. This is just destroy up to 2 target artifacts and/or enchantments. If it's not your turn, you may exile a green card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. This is just, you know, taking out your opponent's artifacts and enchantments. Same thing with Pick Your Poison. This is a really cheap 1 mana cost card. You can have each opponent sacrifice an artifact, or you can have them sacrifice an enchantment, or you can have them sacrifice a creature with flying. Choose one. So each opponent sacrifices either an artifact or an enchantment or a creature with flying. You can only choose one of those options. You can't change it for each opponent. Each opponent would have to either sacrifice a flying, a enchantment, or an artifact, but individually, not all together. Radiant Purge, this one I think might be pretty good for, because multicolored creatures, of course. So yeah, you can just exile any of them, and that would be good. And then we've got Single Combat. This is a board wipe almost, except for you can create, each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, then sacrifices the rest. Players can't cast creature or planeswalker spells until your next turn. So this is just like, you can just take Drizzt, just pick Drizzt, and then just go wild with that single combat. Go fighting your opponents like crazy. We've got Steelbane Hydra. This one's really good for +1/+1 counter decks because you can remove +1/+1 counter from them to destroy an artifact or enchantment. And it enters with a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the amount you pay for X. Swords to Plowshare. This one really doesn't need any introduction. This one's super popular. You exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. Shouldn't really be a problem with Drizzt being able to attack so much into them. This one's Sylvan Reclamation. I actually really like this card. You can exile up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments, and it has basic land cycling. So if you don't have any targets for it, or if it's super early in the game, you can just land cycle it if you need more land. Or you can save it for when you have some threats that you need to get rid of with exile. Throbbing Charm. This one's really good. Throbbing Charm deals damage equal to twice the number of creatures you control to target creature. So this one isn't as good as the fight ones, but this one can also be used in combat to help Drizzt kill larger creatures than regular. You can destroy target enchantment, or you can exile any number of target players' graveyards. So this can also disrupt graveyard strategies. And then we've got searching. We're going to search for cards. This is basically draw. You can draw cards. So Hunter's Insight. Choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. So you can draw cards equal to Drizzt's damage to a player or planeswalker. Inspiring Call is draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. So this one you can draw, and you can attack with Drizzt, and you can take all of those advantages that I was mentioning with Drizzt, and also draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So this one's just fucking solid. We have Kutzel, Malamute Exemplar. Opponents can't cast spells during your turn, so this is just absolutely shuts down counter spells. And then whenever one or more creatures you control with power greater than its base power deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So this is just drawing any of your creatures that have +1/+1 counters on them. If they deal if they deal combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card from them. So that's really solid. We have Lenore, Autumn Sovereign. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. So at the beginning of combat, you can just put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and then if you control 3 creatures with different power numbers here, you draw a card at the beginning of each combat. This one, Lifecrafter's Beastry, is one of my favorites. You get to just scry one at the beginning of your upkeep. That's just super powerful. Sometimes it's underappreciated, and this card isn't really seen as much of a target most of the time. And then whenever you cast a creature spell, you can pay an extra green mana, and if you do, you draw a card. So it's just solid. We got Life's Legacy. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. Draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power. So this one, you can just sacrifice your a creature that's really big and draw a bunch of cards if you desire. Stocking the Pantry. This one I'm kind of thinking I might replace at one point or another, but whenever you put a one or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, put a supply counter on Stocking the Pantry, and then you can pay 2 and remove a supply counter to draw a card. So this one's just okay. I might put something else in place of this. Maybe more. I was thinking maybe another draw spell of some kind, or maybe just something else that does more fighting. I'm not sure yet. I need to play test it a bit more. We have Thaddeus, Juniper Ascendant. He has Reach, and he has Hexproof unless it's attacking. Whenever a creature you control with Reach attacks, untap it, and it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power this combat. Whenever one or more creatures you control with deal to combat damage to a player, draw a card. So he's the only one with reach in the deck, I think. You can give reach to other creatures too with other cards, but I think right now he is the only one that's going to benefit from this part of his ability, but you can also draw a card from any combat damage that's dealt. So this is just really solid anyway. We got the Great Henge. This one doesn't really need any introduction. Like, it's just super powerful, and it adds +1/+1 counters on creatures. Like, just it gains life. It's a mana rock. Costs X less. Like, this is just it's gonna just propel everything into a faster win, hopefully. We got Your Temple is under attack. I like this one because of the indestructible. You want that indestructible to protect Drizzt and any other creatures, and then also you can use it to draw cards if you don't need the indestructible. Another opponent gets to draw cards too, but this deck is better, so you don't really have to worry about them drawing cards at all. We got Arcane Signet. This is just a mana rock, and we got Hunting Grounds. As long as 7 or more cards in your graveyard, Hunting Grounds has whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is just getting things out faster, helping your strategy. This is the same thing, kind of. At the beginning of your second main phase of Kona, Rescue Beastie is tapped. You may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is just getting things out faster. We got Mirari's Wake. This is creatures you control at +1/+1, so the buff is really good. And then also, whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. And then Selesnya Signet, it's just a mana rock, gotta get that mana out there, and Soul Ring. That's also really good. And then the lands don't really matter too much, but Arena is really good because it's a land that lets you fight. Target creature you control and target creature of an opponent's choice they control, and those creatures fight each other. So you can just force, like, your opponent gets to choose what creature they tap to fight, but you're basically like you're just fighting, and then you can cast your instants to do more damage with Drizzt, and he can punch above his weight class. So this is just perfect. This is exactly what we want in this deck. We want to just go after your opponent's big creatures. You don't get all defense. Like, I think that the EDH recommendations, like that, the basic deck with Drizzt, they're doing it all wrong. You need to just go absolute crazy with going after your opponents. You have no fear of large creatures because Drizzt will handle it. He's a fighter, and he's one of the best fighters. So, yeah. Just go out. Just no fear. All confidence, no fear. We have Drannith Ruins, which is really good because you can just put more counters on any non-human creatures, and since he's Drizzt is an elf, that works perfect. This one is Gavany Township. This is a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, which is also just strategy. Just the synergy here is insane. Nesting Grounds lets you move counters around. It's a bit slower than the other counter movers, but it's still there. So that's really good. Oran Reef of Vastwood is putting +1/+1 counters on green creatures that entered. So this is just really good for that strategy. And then Rogue's Passage, because sometimes you just need to get through the creatures faster, or ignore them altogether. And this lets you ignore them altogether. Shifting Woodland. This one is really cool. I think that it would just help with if one of your main pieces get killed, like those two cats that do something whenever your creatures have more base power, more power than their base power, or any of the other permanents that would help with winning. This is just really good to have in case you need it. in case you need it for one turn to just like attack with Drizzt or something. And then that's it. That's the video. If you have any suggestions on things that I should change, I'll put the link to the deck list in the description. Uh, I'd like to hear what you think. I think that it's completely unappreciated, and that's the entire point of this video. All right. Yes, I have to go, so that's the end of the video. If you liked it, subscribe, or just like the video. Leave me some comments about what you think.